this point, it's doing its thing. Right? When I finally get to the point where you're in the second half of the snap, and it's going, you committed, you're going with that shot, that sword is now ballistic. It should be ballistic. You're not pushing it through. You're not. It's now it's fire and forget. Because if nothing else, I'm getting ready for my next shot, and I want to be recovering before my shot hits. So
that's what puts the pop on. Like
in a bit, yeah, in a bit, right. That's part of that, the crack, the whip, right? But it's important to not be seduced by the whip crack analogy too much, because you really aren't. The whip, when you see somebody do the whip, it cracks, and it's because one of the reasons it cracks is you have a diminishing circle acceleration, and the whip person is already coming back and ready to throw it again. Right? So they're already coming into their recovery when the whip goes out there. You want the recovery is a component of getting the whip crack, but it's not necessary. It's not a. It's dangerous. It's seductive to think about the whip crack being the entire range. Right? So when you're recovering, it is contributing to it, but like I said, you want to be able to be in a position where you can let go of the sword and it's still kill. And the whip crack analogy fails at that moment, right? Because if you let go of the whip, right, it would alter that whole cycle significantly. So that's where the analogy kind of fails a little bit. And I'm still wrestling with how to figure out.
Changes on the cycle.
Yeah, the frequency changes, right. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure. I haven't figured that part out yet either. So you want to be able to let go of the sword and still have it kill. And so you use that opportunity. From the moment that the sword has gone ballistic, you are now recovering for the next shot. So open, high, back, rock, hips. The piston comes through here, comes through that moment of transition. Palm up, true edge. And just before, now that it's committed, I'm already starting to move back. So that when it hits my recovery, I'm already drawing this back. Already, that vacuum is now come full circle. So there are two recoveries. You got a palm up to down recovery, and you got a palm up to back recovery. If you're high, boom, when you recover, you can pull it here. If it's low, when you recover, you can do the A-frame recovery, but that's a tactic. It's not you want to boom. At that point, the sword is now dead for a moment, right? You don't have that upper. You've got nowhere to go down there. There's shins and stuff, right? So boom, down. The sword's dead for a second. So from here, you have a choice of either recovering high or recovering low. Right? In both cases, it's the same dynamic. The open high, hips, piston, boom. Just before it hits, you're starting to pull back. And that's either going to be a pull back or it's going to be a pull back. Right? That makes sense.
I recently learned that a lot of my leg shots, I was recovering before I was finishing my shot. And so it was just whipping. It wasn't landing appropriately. And a lot of people, I had somebody do it to me, and I'm like, yeah, I totally understand why you're not taking my leg shots. Even though it felt awesome in my hand, it still wasn't impacting their leg enough. How do you know when to start the recovery precisely without drawing too soon?
It's the wet towel. I strongly recommend to everybody literally get a nice thick everything's working. And that leg shot will work. That's, let the mass teach you, right? You don't have to end the shot at impact. Right? The reason that this whole thing works is that you got that mass in motion. You've accelerated the mass to the point where it's now doing all the work. I snapped my bicep fighting. Came up with my arm. And the reason that it did was because I had bad technique. I tried to force a wrap. I was fighting Brian in Belgium. And we were both on our knees, and in the middle of a combination, I saw that it was open for a wrap, but I wasn't ready to throw it. I had bad technique, but I knew I could get the shot. And so I kind of got it in there. Right? And I won the fight, but I tore my biceps tendon. So that's it. So that wouldn't have worked with the way out. Right? I would have been out here, and I'd done that, and the towel would have been like, what? I'm not going there. Right? Because I had bad technique. Right? Same thing with the leg shot. If it works with a rope, right, it'll work with the stick. So, the snap is this motion. We're going to, in a little bit, we're all going to drill this. That here, that transition is antipose. You notice that, right? So as I start forward, and I draw the mass at the end of the tip of the whip, starting at the ground, before it gets to the position point where it's going to come back, I'm already coming back. All right? Same thing with snap. Here. Everything just before it hits, we're starting to come back. Right? Have that little perpetual motion machine working. And one of the ways to do that is by having a flexible train gene to make sure that you're actually drawing the mass behind the opportunity that all the connections. All right, more speed beats. Who else is fast? You guys are tired. Are we tired? No. All right.
I'll be fast for you.
All right. All right. I work fast, right? Okay. All right. So this is one that you want to play with. All right. Your shield hand. Your shield hand. Put it in your nose. Take them away. Not actually touch it. I've got my sword hand. Thumb behind the ear. Elbow 90 degrees out from here. Okay? So I'm going to come across and hit the hand. Okay? And your job here is to hold down.
Not block your sword.
Right.
Right.
So what I want to do is I'm going to throw the shot through here, out of the way. Okay? All right. So. I want you to watch my hips.
That's all right.
Hips. This is a speed game. This is all about speed. It's not about power. It's not about a fake. He knows where I'm going to throw it. Right? But still, the hips move first. Okay? Just a pulse. Right? And the reason they weren't powering my